Caleb Walker walked under the August sun. The California heat was a physical force. Dust and dry earth stretched out everywhere. Hired farmhands worked shirtless in the heat. They plowed fertilizer into the soil. Brian enthusiastically explained their timeline. He noted the avocado saplings needed planting. He promised a swift harvest next year. Caleb's bottle of Fiji water was empty. Sweat poured from his body in streams. The salt stung his eyes. His designer shirt was completely soaked. Powerful thirst gripped his throat. He aimed the buzzing drone's camera at himself. He told his viewers about the land. It would be his project for months. He mentioned the stinging sweat in his eyes. He had committed fully to this venture. He deeply regretted not bringing more water. He wanted to find shade and rest, but there was nothing to drink nearby. His wet bangs clung to his forehead. Even his eyelashes were damp with sweat. His eyes appeared misty on the screen. The comments in the live chat exploded. He maintained his usual calm demeanor. He answered his audience's questions. He assured them the work was manageable. Someone asked if they could admire his looks. He joked about his sweat-drenched appearance. He told them not to make him blush. He dismissed the idea of an easy project. He stated that nothing valuable is free. He shrugged off the negative comments. He laughed at being called a drama queen. He denied that he was torturing his fans. A viewer noticed his expensive leather loafers. Caleb confirmed they were old and comfortable. He explained they were great for walking. He appreciated the feedback from his viewers. He asked for a peaceful discussion. He acknowledged many ventures were scams. But growing things from the earth felt real. This farm would create tax revenue and jobs. Even if he lost money, he would have avocados. He promised to give the fruit to his fans. Farm work started early in the morning. The local workers rested during the midday heat. He knew heat stroke was a serious danger. It was only 9 in the morning. The temperature was already incredibly high. He acknowledged the heat was good for avocados. A fan asked him to take off his shirt. Caleb laughed and politely declined the request. He smiled at the camera once more. He turned the drone to capture the landscape. His face was flushed from the heat. He knew they needed to find a place to rest. Brian looked uncomfortable beside him. He explained the property was still new. They had not built a shelter yet. The planting had to be done by August. He offered Caleb his own bottle of water. He felt embarrassed offering the half-empty bottle. He suggested they could return to the city, but he needed to supervise the workers. He knew they might slack off without oversight. He insisted the initial work was crucial. Caleb glanced at the used water bottle. He politely shook his head no. Brian understood his boss's preferences. He would rather be thirsty than share a bottle. Brian scanned the surrounding hillsides. He pointed to a small house on a slope. He suggested they ask the residents for water. He thought they could also rest there. Caleb saw a tree with bright yellow flowers. It wrapped around the hillside beautifully. A small, whitewashed house sat among them. The place looked clean and well-kept. Caleb nodded in agreement. He held up his drone controller excitedly. He announced they found a farmhouse. He was going to borrow some water. The live chat became active again. Many people asked about the yellow flower. Caleb admitted he did not know its name. Someone in the chat identified it as cassia. Its seeds could be used for pillows. Some viewers were skeptical about the house. They mentioned the lack of modern comforts. No internet, no AC, no water heater. They thought he would not last a day there. Others argued about rural living. They said country homes were naturally cool. Caleb just smiled and continued walking. He filmed the scenery for his audience. The yellow cassia flowers bloomed in clusters. Their feathery green leaves were vibrant. The sight was incredibly bright and cheerful. A rough wooden gate was slightly ajar. Brian called out a friendly hello. There was no response from inside. Brian guessed the person was working indoors. They decided to walk in and see. The two men pushed the gate open. A large vegetable garden was on the right. It was flourishing under the bright sun. The plants were strong, glossy, and plump. Tall herbs bloomed with yellow flowers. Colorful butterflies and bees flew around. Several tall chili plants grew nearby. They were covered in red and green peppers. A row of tomato plants was heavy with fruit. Their red globes hung near the ground. Another section had climbing melon vines. They snaked up a sturdy wooden trellis. Many small, tender cucumbers hung down. Brian expressed his admiration for the garden. Caleb filmed the scene with his drone. He praised the farmer's hard work. He told his audience how beautiful it was. He moved closer to the fence. He agreed with his viewers' positive comments. He knew this garden required immense effort. A fan asked about eating a chili. Caleb identified it as a hot variety. He imagined it fresh with a little salt. He pointed out the cucumbers on the vine. The two walked along a stone path. Small wildflowers grew in the cracks. They had delicate purple and yellow blooms. A sizzling sound came from the house. It sounded like someone was cooking. Then, a powerful aroma of meat wafted out. It was roasted pork with eggplant. It had the sharp, pleasant smell of chili. The scent was rich and inviting. They had driven from the city early. Both men were starting to feel hungry. The smell made their stomachs rumble. Their mouths began to water instantly. Caleb heard Brian swallow beside him. He turned the drone camera off. He told his audience he needed privacy. He explained filming without permission was rude. They stepped inside and saw a kitchen. A young man stood with his back to them. He was tall with a lean, strong build. He wore a simple white t-shirt. He also had on gray cargo pants. Brian called out to him again. The man turned around with a finished dish. He asked them what they needed. Caleb was momentarily taken aback. The young man was strikingly handsome. He had short, dark hair and clear eyes. His features were sharp and well-defined. He looked nothing like a rural farmer. Brian felt awkward calling him buddy. He explained they were passing by. They were very thirsty from the heat. He asked if they could have some water. The young man looked them over. A slight smile played on his lips. He gestured towards a room behind the kitchen. He invited them inside to sit down. He said he would bring them water. He led them through the kitchen. Brian felt an immediate sense of relief. The room was cool and spacious. The ceiling beams were very high. Pleasant cross breeze blew through. The decor was simple yet stylish. The floor was made of large gray tiles. One wall was entirely glass. It offered a view of the lush garden. A row of aquariums lined another wall. Exotic fish swam inside them. A long, wooden dining table sat in the middle. It was surrounded by several simple chairs. Brian praised the man's collection of fish. He recognized a rare arowana. He knew it could be worth thousands. The man placed the food on the table. He said they could buy one if interested. He opened a large, stainless steel refrigerator. Brian admitted he could not afford one. He noticed the expensive refrigerator. He also saw other high-end kitchen appliances. He realized this was no ordinary farmhouse. The man explained his family was from there. He had returned after his military service. He pulled out a tall glass pitcher. It was filled with water and green leaves. He poured 2 glasses for them. He glanced at Brian, admiring the fish. Then he looked at Caleb at the table. He introduced himself as Ethan. Brian drank his water in one gulp. Ethan refilled his glass with a smile. He placed the pitcher on the table. He told them to help themselves. Brian complimented the refreshing drink. He thought it was lemon honey water. Caleb sipped his drink slowly. He corrected Brian about the ingredient. He identified the flavor as lemongrass. He then introduced himself and Brian. He felt it was the proper thing to do. Ethan smiled at them. He confirmed it was lemongrass honey water. Brian asked if there were any good diners nearby. He said it was too far to go to the city. Ethan offered them lunch at his house. He said the food was simple but fresh. Brian was delighted by the offer. He glanced at Caleb for approval. He knew Caleb could be very particular. This place seemed clean enough. Caleb hesitated for a moment. He asked if they could pay for the meal. Ethan shook his head and laughed. He said he grew more than he could eat. He just needed to cook a little extra. He then returned to the kitchen. Soon he brought out a pot of grits. He wondered if they were used to it. Brian assured him it was fine. He told Caleb that grits were healthy. The corn porridge was yellow and fragrant. Caleb was very hungry by then. He told Ethan he would eat anything. Ethan smiled at his response. He said grits were historically food of the poor. He then set out large porcelain bowls. He went back to the kitchen. A few moments later, he returned with more food. Brian was surprised by the spread. There were several dishes on the table. The main dish was fried celery with bacon. Another was the roasted pork with eggplant. There was also a plate of stir-fried kale. The soup was made with chili leaves and egg. A side dish of sliced salted duck eggs. He also served cucumbers with spicy chili. Brian quickly served Ethan some soup. He complimented the homemade salted eggs. Ethan explained it was a local technique. They used special brine to cure them. Brian began eating eagerly. Caleb was unsure how to begin. Ethan quietly passed him a spoon. He also poured him a bowl of soup. Caleb was surprised by his thoughtfulness. He nodded his thanks and ate. The vegetables were incredibly fresh. Ethan was clearly a skilled cook. The dishes were perfectly seasoned. The bacon was savory and delicious. The corn grits were sweet and creamy. The soup was fragrant and unique. Brian ate 3 large bowls of grits. He leaned back in his chair, satisfied. He expressed envy for Ethan's lifestyle. He sighed about his stressful city life. Ethan smiled and offered a different view. He spoke about the need for progress. He said one must build a career when young. He mentioned providing for future children. Brian, a new father, strongly agreed. He spoke passionately about his daughter. He wanted to give her the best future. He felt city resources were essential. Caleb found Brian's speech a bit much. He glanced at Ethan to see his reaction. Ethan was not offended at all. He simply smiled and listened patiently. He looked at Caleb with kind eyes. He asked if Caleb had eaten enough. Caleb nodded and thanked him again. Brian offered to wash the dishes. Ethan told him not to worry about it. Brian insisted and cleaned up quickly. They said their goodbyes and left. They returned to the fields for a while. As the sun set, they got in the car. They were heading back to the city. They passed the road to Ethan's house. Caleb suddenly asked Brian to stop. He told him to drive up to the house. Brian drove the car to the gate. Caleb got out of the car. He retrieved 2 cigars from the trunk. He also took out a bottle of bourbon. He placed them by the wooden gate. He returned to the car without a word. Brian recognized the expensive brands. He exclaimed they were worth a lot. He said the gifts were too generous. He suggested buying a chicken instead. He doubted Ethan would appreciate them. Caleb ignored him and said to drive. Brian drove away reluctantly. He worried someone else might take the gifts. Caleb remained silent for the trip. Brian eventually changed the subject. He asked about Caleb's birthday trip. Caleb confirmed he was leaving the next day. He told Brian he was in charge. Brian promised to take care of everything. He assured Caleb a profitable year. Caleb did not visit for several months. The following spring, he returned. He remembered his avocado career. He and Brian went to Ethan's house. They hoped to ask for lunch again. Ethan was sitting by the garden. He was cleaning crayfish in a bucket. He smiled when he saw them. He thanked Caleb for the cigars and bourbon. He admitted he did not smoke. He said he had not touched them. He offered to give them back. Caleb waved his hand dismissively. He explained they were a gift from family. He said he never takes back gifts. He asked if they could stay for lunch. He mentioned he would be in the area. Ethan smiled at his cheerfulness. He agreed to host them for their meals. Caleb happily walked over to the bucket. He asked what Ethan was preparing. Ethan said he was making crayfish with herbs. He asked if they liked that flavor. Caleb enthusiastically agreed. Ethan then asked about their food preferences. He put the bucket of crayfish away. He carried it into his kitchen. Caleb and Brian followed him. They again marveled at the garden. Suddenly, they heard opera music. The sound quality was quite poor. An elderly woman was at the fence. She had silver hair and a warm smile. She called out for Ethan. Ethan looked out from the kitchen window. The woman hung a basket on the fence. It was filled with freshly made biscuits. She said it was a thank you gift. She then hummed a tune and walked away. Caleb asked Ethan about the biscuits. Ethan told him to bring them inside. He explained he had given her some pesto. The biscuits were her way of repaying him. Caleb's mouth watered at the word pesto. He asked if Ethan had made it himself. Ethan laughed at his eager expression. He described his unique recipe. He bottled it with hot oil. He offered to make them some pasta with it. Caleb was overjoyed by the offer. He sat down at the long wooden table. Ethan brought over the warm biscuits. The freshly baked goods were golden brown. Caleb could not wait to try one. An old habit kicked in. He asked Ethan if he could live stream. He promised to obscure everyone's face. He explained he was a popular streamer. He felt the beautiful garden should be shared. Ethan smiled and gave his permission. Caleb quickly activated his drone. He greeted his audience with a smile. He reminded them of the beautiful garden. He showed them the fresh biscuits. He boasted about the delicious food. He showed off the thriving plants. The live chat was immediately active. They remembered the stunning garden. They commented on the lush vegetables. Someone noticed a bamboo bed in the corner. It was under a grape trellis. They romanticized the idyllic setting. Caleb smiled at their comments. He noticed a book on the bamboo bed. He read the title for his audience. It was a collection of Yeats's poetry. His viewers swooned over the literary farmer. They demanded to see the young man. Caleb turned the drone toward the kitchen. He gave them a glimpse of Ethan's back. The chat went wild with comments. They admired his physique and long legs. They swooned over a man who could cook. Caleb explained that Ethan was making pasta. He zoomed in on the food. He noticed the noodles looked handmade. Ethan brought a large bowl of crayfish. He confirmed he had made the pasta himself. Caleb expressed his surprise and admiration. He said many of his viewers liked him. Ethan smiled slightly at the comment. He asked what they wanted for dinner. Caleb deferred to Ethan's judgment. He knew whatever he made would be good. Ethan listed several delicious options: spring water chicken and river shrimp. He also mentioned mung bean pudding. The free-range chicken sounded amazing. Caleb asked about the spring water. Ethan laughed and clarified. He used a specific brand of bottled water. He had tested many for his cooking. He found it made the best soup. Caleb was amused by his meticulousness. He joked that Ethan had a refined palate. Ethan said different waters suit different soups. Caleb was truly impressed by his dedication. That night's dinner was incredible. The river shrimp were fragrant and savory. The chicken soup was clear and flavorful. The two guests praised the meal endlessly. Caleb stayed in the area for several days. He ate every meal at Ethan's house. He returned to the city with gifts. He brought back special sauces and wine. The honey wine was homemade. Ethan warned him to drink it quickly. When Caleb returned, he praised the wine. His grandfather had loved the flavor. He said it cured his grandfather's hives. It was the first time anything had worked. He wanted to buy all of Ethan's supply. Ethan explained it was a one-time batch. He had found a wild hive on the mountain. He made the wine from that honeycomb. Caleb expressed his disappointment. Ethan suggested trying other meads. Caleb said his grandfather had tried many. Nothing had worked like Ethan's. The old man believed the wild nectar was key. He said wild bees collected various pollens. That special combination was likely the cure. Rubella was a mysterious ailment.